Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA primed Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, the king of all those cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes, and even those prime Wagyu burgers. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner at 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in, everybody, on TV and radio, everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, and a big hello to our friends over on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and WOW Cable TV affiliates in select markets, plus Hotel TV. Everybody streaming on Pick Your Favorite platform, and Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites. Whew, boy, that's a lot. You know, the winter meetings have been going on and basically wrapping up over in Dallas, and you think about the deals that were made, some really good, some not necessarily so good. But you see how those deals have paved the road for bigger deals. And of course, we think about the Ohtani deal from last year and how it paved the road for Juan Soto's deal for this year. And then you ask yourself, did Juan Soto's deal make a bigger splash for somebody else? And I'm going to argue that it did. And my favorite player in Major League Baseball, better yet, the most exciting player in baseball as I see it, is Elly De La Cruz from the Cincinnati Reds. And this guy could just do it all. And he's getting better and better. He's just a youngster. I think he's 22 years of age. And look, it didn't take long after Juan Soto's deal that made history to pave the road. Now, look, in the immediate aftermath of Soto's agreement with the Mets on that $765 million deal, the buzz among the rest of baseball executives and agents in the hotel lobbies, of course, at the meetings quickly turned to what is next. Well, specifically, could the first billion-dollar player be far behind? One agent said it's coming, maybe within 5 years. Elly De La Cruz may be that guy. Now think about this. If that timeline sounds familiar to sports fans in Cincinnati, maybe it's because of the budding superstar in the middle of the Reds infield who belongs to that free agent class. Now look, one agent says he's a freak. He could be the guy. And Elly De La Cruz, yes, the first billion-dollar player, possibly. Who knows? Let's take a look at the history of what these big contracts look like just in the last 5 years or so. And back in 2019, it was Bryce Harper signing that 13-year, $330 million deal. Mike Trout, same year, 12-year, $426 million. Mookie Betts, 12-year, $365 the next year. 2022, we saw a couple of years ago, it was Aaron Judge, 9 years for $360. Manny Machado in 23 was 11 years at $350. Ohtani, 10 years at $700. Juan Soto, 15 at $765. So let's just say maybe the next couple of years, we could actually see something gigantic like $1 billion. And look, one American League executive said, quote, he's one of the names that came up when we're talking about it, close quote, talking about that possibility of $1 billion. Now look, it might not sound absurd, but it might sound absurd to think that any player in sports would get paid that much in one contract of any length, but perhaps no more absurd than Soto getting $105 million more than John Henry's group paid for the entire Boston Red Sox franchise. Yeah, think about that one back in 2002. And of course, Dave Roberts from the Dodgers said, quote, "I didn't see that happening, period. It was very surprising," talking about the Ohtani deal. So when will a Major League Baseball player get a $1 billion contract? Right? This is the idea here. So what about the idea of $1 billion for one player? Yeah, it could happen. Heck, it took until 2012 for a franchise to prove that valuable when the Dodgers sold for just more than $2 billion. And it wasn't until just 5 years ago that Forbes determined that every franchise was worth at least $1 billion. So according to Forbes, the Marlins are barely worth that even now. And of course, Roberts said, quote, "I guess I would be even more surprised. I didn't think this was plausible," close quote. But here's the thing. It may have already happened, sort of. So one industry insider said a team actually made a $1 billion offer to a player, presumably Soto. However, that offer includes substantial deferred salary, like Ohtani's contract. Soto's deal with the Mets includes no deferrals whatsoever. And one former National League executive said, quote, "The math doesn't actually support it," close quote. So Major League star contract factors, think about this. That particular exec said that when he and other execs in their big market front office plan long-term extensions or targeted free agents, they started with the dollar value of wins above replacement, which is now considered roughly $10 million per point of WAR, depending on a team's internal formula. That's kind of an interesting formula. So it's wins above replacement is WAR. So he also said, quote, "If we felt we needed to get 40 WAR to get the value of the contract, we didn't care if we got all of it in the front half or averaged over the whole contract," close quote. So according to Baseball Reference, Juan Soto, who just turned 26, had a combined 26 WAR over the last 4 All-Star seasons, a 6.5 average. And that would be worth maybe $65 million a year. Imagine that, $65 million a year by the former National League executive's math, $79 million in 2024 based on his WAR. So his new contract averages $51 million a year. Whether that makes Soto worth the full weight of his 15-year investment, it at least suggests a way of wrapping one's head around the enormity of the deal. And that former executive said, quote, "I'm not on the hating side of it as much as I am as other people," close quote. And he goes on to say, quote, "And when was the first $250 million deal," close quote. Of course, he was referring to Alex Rodriguez's first contract 24 years ago. How'd that one work out? Not so good. Anyway, he also said, "Is my house more expensive than 2 decades ago? Is my car? So should players' contracts." Well, look, Major League Baseball franchise values and players' contracts over time. Look, this is a very touchy subject. And of course, he said franchise values and industry revenue continues to rise faster than average player salaries in that period. So maybe the player who takes one of the most competitive elite at-bats in the game is actually worth $765. Is he? I don't know. If so, what does that suggest about 5 years from now? For a 5-tool shortstop like Ellie De La Cruz, who delivers a 5.2 WAR at age 22. Now look, that same executive said, quote, "Now he has to give that at-bat we're talking about. The tools are as good as it gets, but that's not his at-bat now," close quote. So Ellie does strike out a little bit, but he's getting better at hitting off-speed pitches. And yeah, he hits Titanic home runs just like other people do too. He hits bigger home runs than Juan Soto. His home run levels are at Aaron Judge levels. They're ridiculous. But Ellie's getting better at hitting off-speed pitches, and Ellie's getting better as he goes. So this guy has a huge upside. And so he already cut down on his strikeout rate, as I've mentioned, since his 4-month debut season in 2023. And that actually got him an all-star selection this past season. So if Ellie continues that path, improves his fielding, and makes better base running decisions as he's become more established in the next few years, maybe he's that guy. I mean, look, he led the league in stolen bases. And this is the same guy that stole 3 bases on 3 pitches. And so, look, his agent says all kinds of things, but at the end of the day, his performance is going to talk. So he already, being his agent, has the agent to break somebody's bank. And, of course, that's Scott Boras. And, of course, my opinion is just my opinion. It's all about money and not about the fit. Anyway, so that particular agent who landed the Soto contract of the century also represents Ellie De La Cruz. And he already suggested how unlikely it is that De La Cruz signs an extension with the Reds before becoming a free agent. And, of course, the agent says, don't even go there. No, with that billion-dollar question. But he also said, quote, I would not want to put that on any player anytime, particularly when he has to perform for 5 years before it happens. My God. Good thought, though. Close quote. Could the Reds afford a billion-dollar Ellie De La Cruz is the next question. In fact, when we come back from break, we're going to talk a little bit more about this because it is an intriguing question that certainly warrants more discussion because that's the way the teams are going right now. And think about John Henry paying, $1 billion or so for the Red Sox a couple of decades ago. Now look at the value of the Soto contract. Folks, we're going there. And don't go anywhere because we're going to talk about that and a few more things when we come back here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call
714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, and welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates from coast to coast. Big hello to our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA, that's home of the New York Yankees, San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in everybody up and down the West Coast on all of our independents, all the way over to our friends in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves, and as well as WDJY 99.1 FM over in Atlanta. All right, so in the last segment, talking about the possibility of a billion-dollar player. Elly De La Cruz's name comes up because he is a bona fide five-tool player that hasn't signed a big deal yet. He is, of course, on his rookie contract right now with the Cincinnati Reds. And he still has a little bit of ways to go to grow to become the full batting complement of the five-tool player, because he does strike out a bit, and he does make a few errors here and there, but the hitting and hitting off-speed pitches has been one of his Achilles' heels, but he's getting a lot better at it. And mind you, this kid's only 22. He's already an all-star. He hits titanic home runs, runs like the wind, steals bases like wild, leads the league in stolen bases, leads the world in stolen bases, seemingly. The guy's got a pretty good glove. He's got an arm that's an absolute cannon on top of it. So he has all the makings that he could be that next billion-dollar player. And, of course, when asked so much that Elly's free agent timeline, does it kind of align with Juan Soto's? And Reds president Nick Krall paused for a moment and he said, quote, "I'm excited that he's on our team this year," and go from there, close quote. So Krall wouldn't speculate on De La Cruz's potential payday as a free agent in 5 years. Of course, why would you? So look, when he's 27, I guess is the big question. So Krall said, quote, "He's a great player, a superstar player, and a free agent at 27. So the Reds actually have him locked up until he's 27 years of age. At that point, I guess that's the make or break time. So if the Reds have themselves maybe in contention for a World Series, that's possibly. And they've got themselves one hell of a new manager, too. I like the idea that they brought in Terry Francona. This guy is good. He is good. He's going to be very good for Elly and everybody else. But anyway, when it comes to anybody getting a billion-dollar contract, the ownership of the Reds is a long-time guy past being stunned by the mega deals paid in the mega markets. And he says, nothing surprises me, and there's a lot of great players in the game, and that's what happens. So from the Reds' perspective, a billion-dollar deal for Elly might provide at least some semblance of, logic to Elly, but maybe in what the marketplace says, is it some solace for what it is likely to say about that 6'5" bundle of power and speed. So look, the Reds have 5 seasons to figure this thing out. You know, Major League Baseball salary disparity for big and small market teams is a real thing. And even if it underscores the growing disparity between baseball's haves and have-nots, the ownership of the Reds, Mr. Krall, says, quote, "We all know our challenges, and you're just doing the best you can to go through it, the player pipeline, and not be worried about outside stuff. And you can't control it, and I can't worry about stuff I can't control. We're trying to do the best we can with the Reds, close quote. And of course, the agent, of course, he has to chime in and says, quote, part of a sports league is disparity. There's always a Goliath and there's always a David in every sports league. I don't care what league it is. I don't care whether you have the salary cap or not. It's always been that way. But the one thing in common is that every ownership that was bought for $100 million to $200 million is now worth $2 billion to $3 billion. Close quotes. This is exactly the point of view with that particular agent. This is why I have a problem with it personally. Anyway, that, of course, is an inescapable truth that nobody at either end of the economic spectrum in the game can deny after watching Soto's deal unfold, with as many as 5 teams still alive in the bidding into the final few days. And of course, Seattle Mariners president Jerry DiPito, who pitched for 3 big league teams in the 90s and whose biggest contract as a player was a 2-year, $4.7 million deal, said, quote, it's good for the game, it's good for the players, close quote. But then again, he also adds, obviously, it means that the game is thriving when players can achieve salaries like that, close quote. So I'm going to stop right there for a moment because I don't necessarily believe it's good for the game. I don't believe it's good for it's good for the players because they get lots and lots of money. Is it good for the ownership? Probably not. Is it good for the fans? Definitely not. Because the fans have to do what? They have to carry the cost of the MLB package on TV, whatever that is. They also have to bear the cost of a game, going to the game, as I mentioned in a previous episode, taking the Chicago Cubs and the bleacher seats analogy that I used before. I paid $1 when I was a kid, and now the bleacher seats are $75, and I wasn't born 200 years ago. And I compared that to the Consumer Price Index for the cost of what a basket of groceries is, even from the 1970s to today. And the multiple was 4 to 5. So therefore, the ticket price should be, instead of $1, should have been maybe $5, maybe even $10. But the problem is these contracts are demanding such big money that the fans have to bear the cost. And here's where you have to draw the line, folks. How does this kind of a contract affect people like you and me? All right, so now, do we go see our favorite baseball team, wherever that is? So I don't care where you're at. Let's just take, for example, the world champion LA Dodgers. To go see a Dodger game for a family of 4, tickets are going to probably cost you a couple of $100 a piece. Yes, just like a basketball game. A couple of $100 a piece for a good seats. Then you're going to have parking. That's going to be maybe $50 or $100. Then you're going to have food, which is probably going to be another couple of $100. So far, we're at about $1,300, maybe $1,400. What about souvenirs? Maybe another $100, maybe $1,500 so far, right? And we have to think of all of that. And now you've got hypothetically $1,500 just for one baseball game for a family of 4. Mind you, they have 81 home games every year. So for that $1,500, what could you do with that? Well, I'll tell you what. First thing first, you could actually pay your bills at home. You could pay for your utilities. You could pay for gas for your car for a few months, whatever. And also, you can do what? You could take that money and use it for a family weekend getaway. Maybe somewhere, I don't know, somewhere in your region that's within a couple, 3 hours drive. Everybody has a place to go to like that. But you ask yourself, what's the highest and best use of $1,500? And I'm only using that as a round number for baseball for these arguments. A $1 billion deal could drive that up to $2,000 to go to a game. What can you do with a couple $1,000? Now, if you live in the western part of the U.S., for example, maybe you have a 3-day getaway in Las Vegas. That's with gambling money included. Gambling, food, hotel, everything. And your airfare, right? Or maybe if you're somewhere on the East Coast, maybe take a trip down to the Bahamas for a couple, 3 days, or down to Florida, whatever it is. See, there's a trade-off. It's a 3-hour, it's like the Gilligan's Island 3-hour tour, if you know what I mean. Or you could actually go on a little getaway with your family or do something else that's more productive. What is the highest and best use right now in this discussion of $1,500? Well, we're right around the Christmas time. So we think about all those Christmas gifts that you're thinking about getting for people, your special people and whatnot. And maybe that covers that. I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. What about food? Let's think about food in the first place. That deserves a big round of applause. And I say that because we all have to eat. Even you self-proclaimed food experts that call yourselves foodies. Anyway, my point is, $1 billion contract is going to affect everybody. Think about your regular bills for your cable television or your satellite or whatever it is, your subscription service to that particular sport. So you're going to have to pay a lot more money for that too. How do you control that? The only way you control it is to stop buying the products of those advertisers during commercial breaks. Because if you stop doing that, then the advertisers, those companies are going to say, you know what? We're not getting as much bang for our buck. We're going to start pulling the advertising from your content. And once it happens that way in a mass exodus, then the revenues go down. And then the players can't get paid as much because the revenues are not there to support it. Everything has to fall in price. That's the only way, is supply and demand. Look, there's too much supply out there, and so demand will drop off. But guess what? What they see is the advertisers, they say, you know what, there's not enough out there and not enough customers, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to pull back our advertising money if you stop buying. So end of day, the consumers can actually control this over the teams and the players and the advertisers and the big companies. The consumers can actually control this. This is what people seem to be missing in the grand scheme of things, and they continually complain. Well, I have to pay this much for this and this much for that. I'm watching this TV program. Now I got to buy it on this company or that company, on private streaming services and all this other stuff. Well, all they got to do is stop buying their products or their goods and services, and the prices eventually will go down. That's called the invisible hand, folks, that for all you economics people out there. That's how economics works. Supply and demand. Too much supply, the price goes down. Too much demand, the price goes up. It's very, very simple. How do you control these baseball contracts? Stop paying the money to the advertisers, stop going to the games, and stop spending money silly-wise, and just go do things with your family or things that are a little bit more enjoyable with more bang for your buck. There's the answer to all that billion-dollar nonsense. Back here in a few minutes with the NFL. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guest, our prior guest, our recorded shows, which can be found on all podcast platforms, Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, etc. You name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com's store. It's one of the tabs across the top of the website. And there's lots of great ideas for your holiday gifts. Make sure you check it out, from hats and t-shirts and hoodies and sweatpants and travel mugs to mouse pads, you name it, pillows. The sportscircus.com store has everything you need for your holiday gifts. All right. Tell them your ringmaster Sal sent you. Maybe I'll give you an extra 10% off just because. A shameless plug for the Sports Circus. All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. Real quick, I wanted to kind of wrap up this baseball thing here. And, there was that World Series that happened between the Dodgers and Yankees. And, of course, there's a small problem with Aaron Judge with the dropped ball, of course, in Game 5 of the World Series. That ball happens to be up for auction. That's right. And remember, that ball could be yours if you go to, I guess, MLB's website and you can bid on it, whatever. Anyway, the game-used ball is available to collectors with winning bids running through, well, this evening. As a matter of fact, as of yesterday, the price is nearing $13,000 for that unique piece of memorabilia. I don't see what's so unique about it outside the fact it's a ball high. This is a ball that made the Yankees potentially lose the World Series or something, some BS like that. In case you don't remember what happened. So in the top of the fifth inning of Game 5, with the Yankees up 5-0, but down 3-1 in the series, Tommy Edmonds sent a fly ball towards center field. What was expected to be a routine flyout turned into a game-changing error by Aaron Judge. And of course, the first error committed all season by him allowed Kike Hernandez to slide in safely into second base and give the Dodgers 2 runners on with nobody out against Garrett Cole. In fact, we may even have an X and Fox Sports soundbite. Let's see if this actually works. Here it is.
The heating up Judge, who settles under this ball, but then drops it. Can Hernandez get to the bag before the throw? He does. On a routine play, Aaron Judge just flubs it in center field.
And so, unfortunately, things happen. And he was obviously watching what was going on in front of him instead of the ball. But nonetheless, following a throwing error by Anthony Volpe and 2 strikeouts, Mookie Betts beat out an infield hit that got the Dodgers on the board after Cole failed to cover first on a grounder to Anthony Rizzo. And a Freddie Freeman 2-run single and Teoscar Hernandez 2-run double then evened the score at 5. The Dodgers grabbed the lead for good in the 8th inning and won the game 7-6 to clinch the title. It has been a big year for Dodger-related balls in the memorabilia world. And, of course, the ball hit by Ohtani for his 50th home run of the season sold for $4.4 million at an auction just a couple of months ago. And while not quite as pricey, the ball for Freddie Freeman's hit for his walk-off grand slam in Game 1 of the World Series is currently at $550,000.
Show me the money!
That's crazy. But $13,000 for a ball that was dropped that kind of caused all this stuff? I don't know. Let's think about this. We go from chaos in baseball to how about a little chaos in football? How about this one? Nobody saw this one coming. Bill Belichick, reportedly disgusted by the NFL, fueling his decision to do what? To join the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill as their football head coach? Yeah, that's what happened, folks. Bill Belichick was announced as Carolina's next head coach in a shocking hire that will have ramifications on college football for years to come. And it turns out that the stunning move might have had less to do with Belichick's desire to join college football and more to do with his frustration at the pro level. In fact, part of Bill's pivot to college programs was that he was, quote, disgusted, close quote, with what the NFL has become, says the four-letter network. In fact, Belichick was reportedly frustrated with the NFL team owners who did not seem to want to buy into his approach. Another conflict and confident made him that Belichick told the four-letter network that he was, quote, tired of the stupidness, close quote, in the league. As a result, Belichick saw the college landscape as more transactional and less relational, per the four-letter network. Now, of course, they also wrote that Belichick's choice to leave the league is a, quote, big FU to the NFL, close quote, in the words of that particular confidant. Interesting. So multiple executives told Yahoo Sports that Belichick knew which NFL teams with openings would have been willing to consider him and how much leeway they would be able to give him. And that's why he opted to try something new instead of sitting out another hiring cycle. So per the four-letter network, of course, when I say that, that's ESPN, per them, UNC offers a new structure for Belichick to try out, where he can build a program in a new and potentially revolutionary way. Crucially, Bill, who likes to have significant control over how he does things, will not have any club owners to answer to. That's interesting. Now, Bill Belichick being hired to lead Carolina elicits strong reaction from the sports world. And of course, some believe the move is brilliant. Others fear, or perhaps hope, that it will be a disaster. Of course, for Carolina, it seems to be worth the risk. Now, with that said, it's not entirely unprecedented for a Super Bowl winning coach to pivot to college. In fact, Belichick will be the second to switch from the pros after Bill Walsh, and a total of 9 Super Bowl winning coaches have coached at college at some point in their career. Well, look, let's unpack this for a moment, because we think about what Bill brings to the table. And what Bill brings to the table, obviously, is winning, winning, and winning. But more importantly, I believe it puts an exclamation point on guys such as Jerry Jones, who want to control everything. I think Jerry is the president, the CEO, and the general manager for the Dallas Cowboys. How in the world is Bill Belichick supposed to compete with that as a head coach, for example, if the Cowboys were to take a look at hiring him? How is he supposed to compete with that? He can't compete with that because, even Jerry Jones has his own TV show. So it's Jerry's world. A lot of people say, well, it's Jerry's world. Well, that just puts an exclamation point on potentially why Bill would end up at Carolina. Is it a bad thing? I don't necessarily believe it's a bad thing. But what I'm concerned about is now he has to deal with parents. He has to deal with very young adults before they've even had a chance to play at a big pay situation. Because here, when early money comes in, when you think about the NIL money, the NIL money that players are getting, some of these players are getting a couple, $3-5 million, which is lunacy to imagine, back from the pre-93 collective bargaining days in the NFL when they didn't make but hundreds of thousands of dollars. Anyway, my point is Now the kids are already being paid a lot. Their expectations are probably pretty high. Bill's going to go in to kids that haven't had any life experience. And unfortunately, it seems like it's going to be a big mess, as I see it, for Bill to deal with those young kids, those young personalities. They don't really know they know what he's capable of, but they don't know what he's done, so to say. They know what he's done, but they don't know because they haven't really seen it over decades and decades because, well, that's what Bill has done. And the problem is these kids are 18, 19 years old, even 17. Is he going to hit the recruiting world? Is he going to go out and beat the pavement, show up at kids' doors and stuff like that? Or is he going to have assistants do the work? Nobody really knows what's going to happen. But I don't necessarily believe that he's going to be out knocking doors to get recruits in to his football team. That's where I see the disconnect. He'll probably have his assistants, etc., and do the work. Well, because Bill will be seen as he's too busy to come out and do the work with the people. And I think that's how that one goes. But ultimately, I think it's going to kind of blow up in his face. He's not going to do much better than Mack Brown. I think firing Mack Brown was not really the right move. Mack Brown is a good guy, and he's done good for the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, for quite some time. Bring Bill Belichick in, it's not going to give them a national title per se. And let's face it, Mack Brown basically will do the same level of work that Bill did because you're only as good as the talent. You're only as good as the budget for the university. Yeah, that's right, budget for recruiting. That's why Ohio State has a $120 million recruiting budget. But my problem is I don't think Bill is going into this with all the tools that he probably believes he has, because there are metrics in here that, let's put it this way, he has a standard toolbox, but it requires metric tools. And there is a small problem with some of this. And I don't necessarily believe the game is going to be the same for him. And I kind of think he's setting himself up to fail here. I don't think he's going to end up as one of those teams that are going to end up undefeated or kind of like the Oregons of the world right now, because Oregon leads college football in that category. I think he's going to have to compete with the Georgias and the Ohio States and the Tennessees of the world and whatnot, even Boise State. The reality is, I think Bill's in way over his head here because there's more to this job on the outside than there is inside the clubhouse, inside the locker room, inside the facilities. Back here in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. AAMP Television. Folks, thanks for joining us throughout all the years. Just a nice, big gratitude felt by us over here at the Sports Circus. And, you know, we've been doing this for over 8 years now, and it's a lot of fun. And we try to help out everybody we can, especially around the holidays. If there's any special requests that you have, just go ahead and email us if you'd like from the contact page at thesportscircus.com, and we'll do everything we can to try to help accommodate in any way we can. All right, back here with the NFL, because we just talked about Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Chapel Hill Tar Heels. We'll just call them that. I went to Duke, so I'm not really a big Carolina fan, but I just thinking about the greater good and what Bill really got himself into. I think he's in over his head. But then again, it is what it is, folks. It doesn't matter. Let's shift over to the NFL real quick. Let's talk about these upcoming games. And we've got some pretty interesting games from the standings side of it. You ask yourself, okay, what is the must-win game? And then let's go ahead and let's compare that to the odds. So the odds are a little bit different as far as the game by game. And let's take a look at our first game, and that is the Rams and the 49ers. That is a Thursday night game. And the 49ers opened up at -6.5. The line is down to -2.5, and that's at MGM. And actually, Caesars and Bally's, Caesars also has it as 2.5. Bally's has it as 3. So if you bought the Rams early, you were in great shape because you got them at the open at 6.5. Now it's down to 2.5. I guess a lot of people are trending towards the Rams. But the 49ers at home to simply win the game, let's see what's at stake here. Well, let's take a look at that NFC West. And really, these two teams would come into a dead heat at 7-7 because right now the Rams 7-6, the Niners at 6-7. And so you ask, look, the 49ers are a better defensive club and they're a better offensive club. They have better numbers on both sides. They have better players despite the injuries that they've got. I'm still inclined, even though Christian McCaffrey is out for the season at this point, still inclined to take the Niners to simply win the game and make that division tighter. Now, Seattle right now holds a 1-game lead on the Rams, and we'll get to Seattle in just a moment here. So, the next game is the Commanders at the Saints. Now, that line opened up at the Saints were -2.5. But the line currently is the Saints are +7.5 across the board. That is a 9-point swing. So why is that? First of all, Washington sits 3 games behind the Eagles. Meanwhile, the Saints sit only 2 games behind the first place Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the bigger question is, can the Saints play a reasonable game at home? Boy, they have been reeling, but That's a 9-point swing. I'm inclined to take the Saints plus the touchdown and the hook being the half a point. 7.5 at home, that's a lot of points in the NFL. Kind of leaning that way. How about the Dolphins and the Texans? Now, that's a really good matchup. That line opened up at 2.5, and it's 3 all the way across the board except for one of those online betting venues. But here in Las Vegas, that line is 3. So they basically say the home field advantage is worth 3 points, and that's why the Texans are the favorite in this game. So they played a neutral field, and it's a picket. Well, now the Dolphins are trending in the right direction. Although they do sit 4 games behind the Buffalo Bills. It's not the issue. They're trying to find themselves into the playoff picture. Whereas you look at the Texans, they are in first place, and nobody's going to catch them. Even the Colts are a couple games back, but nobody's going to catch the Texans in that division. So what are the Texans really playing for? I don't know, but the sense of urgency lies with the Miami Dolphins, and I'm inclined to take the Dolphins plus the 3 points. They're playing really good ball since Tua came back, and that makes all the sense in the world. Moving on, a couple of 3-10 teams, very, very bad teams, and we'll say the Jets and Jags. And look, here you've got Aaron Rodgers on one side. You've got Trevor Lawrence if he plays on the other side. Not sure what's going to happen there, but in this particular case, somehow the Jets have gone up 2.5. They opened up at -1. Now they're -3.5. I'll take the Jags plus 3.5 all day and twice on Sunday. The Bengals travel to the Titans. Now, the Bengals are trending in the right direction. The Bengals are, well, they've got to basically win 3 out of 4 to give themselves a chance to make the playoffs. So when you look at the Bengals, you say, all right, well, this is a very, very skilled club. The problem is defense. So they are 5-8 right now. If they win out, they'll end up at 9-8 with a chance to do what? To make the playoffs. So they do have an interesting schedule. One of the teams that's ahead of them that they have to catch, being the Denver Broncos, is on their schedule. They've got to win at least 3 out of the next 4 games. So they have to play, being the Broncos, they've got themselves a head-to-head match with Cincinnati. But Cincinnati right now is in desperate, desperate need of a win. And Tennessee, let's face it, well, they've seen better days. Tennessee right now is 3-10. They're trending in the wrong direction. This one screams Cincinnati Bengals, lay the 4.5, take the Bengals. The Ravens travel to the New York Giants. The Ravens open up. This is the best one I've ever seen. The Ravens open up at -6.5, and the current line is -16.5. I have never seen a line in all of my years go up 10 points. 10 points. That's insane. And that's at pick your favorite casino, even right here in town. 16 at Bally, 16.5 at Caesars Palace, 16 at MGM. So let's face it, if you're going to take the Giants, you're looking for that extra half a point. There's the 16.5. But something tells me the Ravens are going to cover that on the road. Now, the Ravens are embattled in themselves. They're 2 games behind the Pittsburgh Steelers for the division. And the Ravens are right in the thick of the playoff race. Whereas you look at the Giants, they're in the toilet at 2-11. They can't score. They're terrible. They do have a decent defense, but they're playing a Baltimore team that's got all kinds of weapons. Folks, I got to tell you, I would lay the 16 at pick your favorite casino, and I would just take the Ravens on the road and call it a day. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs travel to the Cleveland Browns. You know, with the Browns, you never know what you're going to get. You get a Jameis Winston, very exciting quarterback. He's got a couple of tools over there to throw to, a couple of guys that are pretty good. But the Chiefs always seem to win those tight games. But you know what's interesting? The Chiefs don't cover the spread on these tight games. They opened up at 3, and they're 4.5 at a couple of online venues. The casinos all have them at 4. And will the trend continue? Will the Cleveland Browns keep it a close game? I guess a lot of it depends on the weather, and it appears to be clear. You know what? We're going to go the other way. We're going to take the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to lay the 4. We'll probably place our bet over at MGM or Caesars Palace and do that one -4. I think they're going to cover this time. Now, the Cowboys, a really bad team, are playing a better Carolina Panthers team. And when I say better, they're actually playing this. They're 3-10, and Dallas is 5-8. But Carolina is actually playing better ball, a lot better ball. And that's the biggest thing when you look at these two teams. Look, you could flip a coin and the winner's going to come up that way. But I'm inclined to take the Panthers in this one. They are home team. Now, again, that line moved from Dallas was minus 6.5 at the open to Dallas being plus 2.5 at Caesars, MGM, and 3 at Bally's. I will go ahead and I will take that bet at Caesars. I'll lay the 2.5, and I'll take the Panthers because I think Jerry Jones and the Fighting Jerry Joneses, I believe that they are trying to, they're trying to position themselves for the draft. So we're going to take Carolina and Bryce Young minus 2.5. The Pittsburgh Steelers travel to the other side of the state to play the Philadelphia Eagles. That line opened up at 2.5 with the Eagles. Now the Eagles are up to minus 5.5 in some places. So that line of 5 is a very good one for bettors, laying 5 for whatever reason. Philadelphia is playing really well these days, and of course Pittsburgh is too, but you look at the situation with these two divisions, the Eagles have a 3-game lead, whereas the Steelers have a 2-game lead. So the Steelers will probably keep that game close. They may even win the game. I'm inclined to take the 5.5 actually online. I'll take the 5.5 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next game is the potential Super Bowl matchup between the Buffalo Bills traveling to the Detroit Lions. Line open up at Lions minus 2. Current line is 2.5. So, will it be the Buffalo defense or will it be the Detroit offense? The bigger question is, can Detroit play defense? Because Buffalo seems to score at will. Now, they say the 3 points for the home team is really for that home field. If that's the case, if they're playing a neutral field, all the odds makers say that Buffalo is the better team. And I believe Buffalo is the better team. Buffalo is going to get themselves a win in this game. The question is by how much? Because remember, Detroit only leads Minnesota by 1 game. 1 game. And I think they still have 1 more game to play against one another. I'm still going to take the Buffalo Bills, even though they have a big lead in their division. We're going to go against that and we're going to take the 2.5. That's a lot of points. The Indianapolis Colts travel to Denver to play the Broncos. The Broncos are trending in the right way, and the Colts are trending absolutely in the wrong way as I see it. Colts have really not much to play for. They're 6-7. They're fighting for a playoff spot. The problem is they're playing a Denver team that's doing the exact same thing. And Denver at 8-5, look, they still have an outside chance to host maybe a game in the wild card round. So the bigger question is, can Denver do what they do at home and cover the 4? Denver's probably going to win the game. Can they cover the 4? I believe they can cover the 4. And the Colts will probably drop this game and drop out of playoff contention. The Buccaneers travel to the Chargers. That's a very good game. We're going to go through these quickly here. The Chargers are playing really good ball right now. They're minus 2.5. We're going to go with the Chargers. We're going to lay the 2.5 because Tampa's got a good lead in their division. The Patriots travel to the Cardinals. Cardinals were open up at 3. They're minus 6 right now. Inclined to take the Patriots plus 6. And we'll take that at one of the local casinos. Green Bay travels to Seattle. The line open up at 1. Seattle's plus 2.5 right now. And you know what? The Packers are going to probably win that game and cover the 2.5. Go with Green Bay. The Bears travel to Minnesota, and the line opened up at 1. The Bears were minus 1. Now the Bears are plus 7. Plus 7. That's a lot of points. Still going to take the Bears despite their coaching issues. And the final game is the Raiders hosting the Falcons. Game opens up minus 1 Atlanta, and it's minus 4 currently across the board. And we're going to take the home team Raiders in that game because Atlanta doesn't seem to play defense. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. Have fun with your bets, and we'll see you in about 24 hours on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.